What's up, everyone, and welcome to Where Does Food, a food history podcast that tells you all about the history of food. I'm a not food historian, Elle.
And I'm an actual food historian, Tim. I got my degree yesterday, so everyone should celebrate with me that I got it yesterday. So
It's still stuck in the mail, apparently.
yeah.
Apparently.
They told me that yours is never coming. Oh, unfortunately.
Just wait till next season. I'm on the come up. Just wait till next season.
Yeah. They they said, "Oh, we just ran out of stamps." So
hey, stamps are expensive. I'll wait. I'll take the time.
yeah, because you can't buy one; you got to buy the roll.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Design flaw.
Yeah.
No. So, Tim, we're switching it up today. I know we usually do Where Does Food. We talk about food, but today we're talking about a drink. And a drink is near and dear to my heart, a beverage near and dear to my heart. Coffee.
Yeah, we're doing coffee.
We're doing coffee.
Coffee food?
Depending on who you ask, yes.
It is food, man. We munch on them. We
We
literally
munch.
eat chocolate-covered espresso
Oh, that's true.
beans.
Yeah. That is true. Chocolate, which
Yeah.
I mean, I'll eat those. I think they're delicious, honestly. I don't mind
Yeah,
them.
they're amazing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and
Some
they
people
have
hate them.
caffeine in them. Fuck those people.
It's double the fun. So, Tim, do you like coffee?
I'm drinking coffee right now.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I iced coffee right now.
I was going to say, I'm glad we got the memo about coffee. I had a nice warm coffee before this, so my taste buds
Yeah,
are,
I had to get juiced up.
if you will.
I'm what they call in the business hungover. So
It is, I mean, you're doing a birthday episode, so.
yeah.
Hence
It is my birthday.
Okay, all right, yeah, hence your hangover.
Typically, we try and record way before the day
Hangovers?
before release, but it didn't happen that way. So now I'm
me.
hungover, and it's my birthday, and I'm talking about coffee with a friend.
Wouldn't have
My
brewed it
friend-
any other way.
Yeah, my friend L, the not historian, probably will never be one. I don't think. I think they just texted me, actually. They said, you are, in fact, never getting a degree.
Never.
They're really gung-ho on it, L. I think you should just move on. And, my credentials are enough for both of us,
For both of us. At this point,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to reapply next season.
Okay, reapply next season.
We'll see
It's
how
not
this
going to
goes.
happen. But
No.
go ahead and reapply next
Never say never. Okay, so, Tim, how do you take your coffee?
I take my coffee right in my hands. I just pick it up typically. So that's usually how I do it. Man, I like coffee in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I'm in the mood for black coffee. Sometimes I'm in the mood for sometimes I'm in the mood for, drip coffee with just some, a little bit of cream and sugar. I also, I like cappuccinos, big fan of lattes. And I make French press. I have a French press, and that's what I use for my house. So I do French press at my house. I used to do pour over, but I just didn't replace. Like my ceramic pour over broke, and I just didn't replace it. And I just been on the French press grind for over 2 years now. I'm thinking about buying another pour over thing just because I do like pour over as well. Again, I like it always, man. Coffee's good.
Coffee's delicious, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great drink. Iced, hot, sweet, not sweet. I adore it. So I'm a bit of a coffee snob just in terms of like I like my beans to be taken care of and properly. Because most coffee beans are old by the time by the time you get them, and age is their fucking kryptonite. Unfortunately, air and age. So
that's true. No, absolutely. Coffee is definitely one of those things where just especially here in America, like we have to import our beans, so they're not necessarily being grown in the United States. So like freshness is definitely an issue. I want you to keep that in mind because we're definitely going to talk about that later. Yeah. So according to scientists, there's about 25 to 100 different types of coffee plant species, which I thought was very interesting. So on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm sorry, not 1 to 5, 1 to 100, what would you say is your rating for coffee?
I really do love it. So I'm going to be up in the 90% echelon
Okay.
So I'm going to go 90 for this one.
Okay.
I'm a big fan, man. I drink it all the time, and it definitely soothes the soul. It's one of those drinks for me.
I agree with that. There's like having a long day. It's like I want a cup of coffee. Wake up in the morning, have a cup of coffee. And I think this goes with it. I think with coffee too, like to your point, like definitely there's so many ways you can make it now. Like, I mean, heck, even like throw in a little K-cup, or you do a pour over, you do a French press. It can be such an experience. I know people that like they make their coffee ritualistically in the morning, but like it's like something that they take their time with. Like, you know, maybe they've crushed a workout out, they're having some breakfast, and this is like their last like 15 minutes of time before they've got to, you know, hit the door, start the day. We hit the rat race, right?
Yeah. What's life without controlling some of the time?
Some of the time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, like, truly.
I think there's so much of that. You know, we're all evangelists for what works for our mental health. And I wake up early literally to do that, sit down and just sit. Sometimes I don't even have the TV on.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm literally just sitting. I look like a fucking sociopath.
Enjoying
I'm just
the stillness.
eating food and just drinking coffee, and there's no noise, no book, nothing. Just sitting there.
That's right. But see, like that's something that works for you, and like you feel like you're reset and you're good to go for the day. And that, like you said, that may not work for everybody, but that works for you, and that's important to have that. So I'm for the coffee resurgence that's occurred.
Hey guys, welcome to the ad section. I'm here to tell you real quick about Anchor by Spotify. You may have heard us talk about Anchor at the end of our episodes, is because Anchor is the platform we use to distribute our podcasts. It's totally free. It helps us distribute our podcasts to different platforms. That's how we're on Apple Podcasts. That's how we're on Google Podcasts, CastBox, you name it. They've helped us do that. You can record directly on the app, on the webpage, so you don't even need a super fancy setup. It's super straightforward, totally free. So download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started on your podcast or whatever you like to do. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode. Hey there. It's your host, Tim, stopping the podcast to tell you about an awesome deal that you can get through Rep Sports. Rep Sports is a supplement company, so they help supplement people's workout lives. They have proteins, pre-workouts, post-workouts, recoveries. They have all types of supplements over there, so go check them out and fill out that stack. I know you're getting low. I can feel it. My stack's getting low. I'm about to do me a shop as well. You can also get mine and Elle's favorite energy drink, Raise Energy. I'm telling you, one can get you through the day. Not a problem. Raise Energy is fantastic. No crash at all. So if you go to repsports.com and use the code WDF15, you can get 15% at checkout. Again, WDF15, you get 15% at checkout, and you also get to support this podcast and support your workout routine, man. Go do it. Now enjoy the rest of this podcast that we love doing.
You know, this is, a damn fine cup of coffee.
The origin story for coffee, it kind of varies, but what we've concluded is that we can trace the legend to the forests of the Ethiopian plateau. It was here that a man named Kaldi first discovered the beans after his goats ate some and became so energetic that they stayed up all night. I love that.
I've heard this story.
Okay. They thought it was just these like super cool berries, or super cool. They just thought these were berries, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna feed it to the animals." And then they stayed up all night, and Kaldi was like, "This isn't normal. This is not okay."
It was Goat Simulator 4.
Yes, that's actually how the game started. So then Kaldi, doing what most people did back in that time, he let the local monastery know. He let the monks know. He was like, "Hey, you guys need to do some scientific experiments on these berries. I don't know what it is." And then it was here that the berry knowledge began to spread. So initially, coffee was brewed exclusively for the medical profession and the priesthood. So those two people were the only people that could. Two groups of people, I should say, were the only people that could enjoy coffee, because they were like, we need it to stay up to study for medicinal purposes and spread the word of the land. So
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
they're hoarding it.
Yeah.
Which I do want to talk about later. Remind me, we're going to talk about the bands of coffee, but that's going to be later.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about coffee trees not money trees. Sorry, Kendrick. Okay, so coffee traces its origin to a genus of plants known as Coffea. Experts estimate there are about 25 to 100 species of coffee plants. So that's what our rating scale's off of. Coffee cherries grow along the branches, and it takes nearly a year for a cherry to mature after its first flowering. After about 5 years of growth to reach its full fruit production, coffee plants can live up to 100 years, but they're generally most productive between the ages of 7 and 20. Me too. The average coffee tree produces 10 pounds of coffee cherries per year, or 2 pounds of beans. And then the beans we brew are actually processed and roasted seeds from a fruit called, like I said, that little coffee cherry. Fun little plant time. In the commercial coffee industry, this is something I learned, there are 2 important coffee species. You have Arabica coffee and Robusta coffee.
Right.
So coffee Arabica, it is a descendant from the original coffee trees discovered in Ethiopia. These trees produce a fine, mild, aromatic coffee and represents approximately 70% of the world's coffee production.
I was going to say, I think I've only seen that on the shelves in the States. So
Yeah, that
I'm sure the other one's around. I've just never seen it.
70%, like that's a pretty high market saturation. You can't even, like, what can you do with that? And then our other type is Robusta, and that's mostly grown in Central and Western Africa, parts of Southeast Asia, including Indonesia and Vietnam, and in Brazil. It has a bit more caffeine, not too terribly much more than the other type of coffee, but it represents only about 30% of coffee production, and it's a bit cheaper also in comparison to the Arabica coffee.
Bro, what? Why are they skimping us? What? It's cheaper and it has more caffeine?
Mm-hmm. It's not, well, apparently the beans aren't as good, but I'm like,
whatever.
It's got higher
It doesn't
caffeine,
it doesn't have to be a full market takeover, but like, I don't know, buddy, maybe even it
like
out
60,
a little
40?
bit.
Maybe like a 60-40
Yeah.
stat. Yeah, no, 70-30 right now.
I'm just saying I've never seen Robusta beans.
I haven't either.
And if I have, I guess maybe I just didn't notice. I'm just saying that, like, we could use some balance here. Maybe, maybe get some cheaper beans in my life.
That'd be kind of nice. Now, Tim, that brings me to
Yeah.
our next part, though. How do you feel about roast? Because there's like essentially 4 different type of roast coffee that you can consume.
I like medium to dark.
Okay, I like medium to light.
Light roast has more caffeine in it.
Yes.
And some are good. Some light roasts are really solid. I just tend to think that light roast takes on that what they call a bright flavor, and that bright flavor to me tastes sour. So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
yeah, so my taste buds just aren't. They don't really like it as much on average. Because on the other end, dark roast can get to the point of like acrid and
Yeah.
that
Cruddy.
like the chocolate kind of goes away and it turns into like coal.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So it they both have their spectrums, and so then you're probably asking, well, why don't you guys always just go medium blend? Because sometimes mediums are just not good on either end. Sometimes they're not deep enough or light enough for you to really enjoy either side. So when it comes to medium, I like it to be a little bit on the medium dark end, and then some dark roasts genuinely are just so chocolatey and not bitter, and they just balance really well. And then there's a few Starbucks, their blonde roasts, since Starbucks like burns the fuck out of their beans anyway. Their blonde roast is phenomenal.
I really enjoy their blonde roast. Yeah.
Their light roast is just so good.
It's pretty robust, I'd say, for being a light roast, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's because Starbucks they really do just burn the fuck out of their beans.
So, talking about roasts, in case for just clarification, light roasts are usually brown in color. This roast is generally preferred for milder coffee varieties. There's no oil on the surface of these beans because they're not roasted long enough for the oils to break through the surface. Medium roast, this roast is medium brown in color with a stronger flavor and still a non-oily surface. It's often referred to as the American roast because it's generally preferred in the United States. So to your point, we love medium blend coffees. It's usually kind of like your breakfast blend coffees if you like see the labels when you're like in the store.
Breakfast is always a light medium. It's either medium, light, or the mixture. Sometimes you'll see bags that say light medium on there. as their breakfast blend.
So going to that mixture, we have medium dark too. We got that's richer, darker in color. This roast has some oil on the surface and it's slightly bittersweet with that aftertaste. But again, it's not that like super rich flavor that sometimes you get that can kind of be overwhelming with dark roast. So this roast produces a shiny black beans with an
Oily as fuck.
very oily surface and pronounced bitterness. The darker the roast, the less acidity will be found in the coffee beverage, though. So the dark roast coffees run from slightly dark to charred, which confused me.
It's that lack of acid, right? Like that's what I mean. I don't know. I love dark roast.
It's so good. So these are what you're normally going to use for your espressos, your French roast. Like if you've even seen like the New Orleans roast, like it's referred to as a dark roast. So. These are our roasts that we have, and you have now our scale. So if you guys want to send us coffee, you just let us know.
So turns out we kind of like all of them.
We will actually drink any coffee.
Elle's for sure light roast. Tim pretty much likes all of them.
Yeah.
He's just kind of more particular about his light roast as opposed to his medium and dark. Because he feels like people can get it. Honestly, I do feel like medium and dark you can get away with some lesser beans, you know, because you're beating them up a little bit more with the heat.
A little bit more,
I mean? So.
yeah. And it's like, don't get me wrong, like to your point, I've definitely had dark roasts that I've enjoyed.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not seeking it out per se.
No, I feel you. That's what I'm saying, right? Like that's what I mean. It's like I've had light roast I enjoy, but I'm with you. I'm more like, you know, if it's not consistent, I'm gonna just go with the thing I like most. But again. I say it all the time with food, right? Like, why would you buy like this extremely expensive, like, you know, all the fucking like Wagyu like beef burgers and shit, like,
right?
All like I've even seen like Kobe beef burgers and stuff, but like the point of that beef is that it's not like fucking manhandled and like beat to shit all the time,
right? Yeah.
But so like you're doing it as a burger, so you're kind of like nullifying what makes it like good and tender, right. So you're just like paying extra for it. I say it all the time. It's like, man, if you're beating the shit up, like if you're beating it up and about to fucking destroy it with heat and fire and fucking cooking the shit out of it, it's like you could probably get away with something a little bit cheaper. And I think dark roast, you can get away with some cheaper beans, some cheaper blends.
Kind of molds together. A little bit more.
Yeah. Again, as someone who buys a lot of different coffees, I've definitely gotten some decent, cheaper dark roast.
We're doing the word thing. Do.
Man,
the word
week after week.
I know. It's like, who would have thought? The word coffee entered the English language in 1582 via the Dutch koffie, borrowed from the Ottoman Turkish kahve, borrowed in turn from the Arabic kawe.
Oh, okay.
Boom.
Bring back the original kawe. Bring it back.
Let's talk about coffee's journey throughout time. This is like a pretty abbreviated version though, because like we would be here for a very long time if we did not do the abbreviated version. But coffee is a, no pun intended, very rich history.
Nice.
Thank you. Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. I had to look at you for that. Coffee began to spread to the Arabian Peninsula by the 15th century. Coffee was being grown in the Yemen district of Arabia, and by the 16th century, it spread to Persia, Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. So you're pretty much going west and south.
Yeah.
I had to like really think about my geography for a second. Sorry. Yeah.
You're good.
I was like, oh, wow. Map. Never eat soggy waffles. Anyways. Hey,
it's okay. I'm terrible at world geography.
It works.
It's all just in directions, even in the States. It's just like, yeah. Where's Atlanta located from, you guys? Somewhere
down
somewhere
yonder.
That direction.
Somewhere that direction. Down yonder. You just keep
going.
I
know it's east. That's it.
It's this way away from me.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay, so never eat soggy waffles. Coffee also began to spread by the opening of public coffee houses, or cafe kenna, which first started to pop up around the Middle East. These were, I don't know why I just said it like that.
Like you were giving us that educational voice.
I don't know. Yeah, wow. Okay. These were the hubs of social activity and a place where important information was exchanged, right? Yeah. Like any coffee house, I would say, in modern day time. Yeah. Literally, this hasn't changed. We've just done this. So the wine of...
They shot like a really early version of Friends back then,
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Thank you.
It's just all of them sitting at the coffee shop.
Instead of it was Central Perk, it was like Eastern Perk. Yeah, I guess Western Perk, depending on where you're situated in the geography line. Yeah, so the wine of Araby had the help of spreading as thousands of people were making their way to make a pilgrimage in Mecca. So people were coming to Mecca and they were like having this coffee drink there. People were like, oh, this is so good. What is this? And they took it back to wherever they were making their pilgrimage from. So in 1670, it said that India began to make coffee post the introduction of coffee beans from Yemen, but we will get to that here in a little bit. By the 17th century, coffee was making its way to Europe as travelers from the East were bringing back this mysterious black beverage from their travels. This is where the PR campaign for coffee went a little haywire in the beginning. In 1615, in Venice, a clergyman condemned coffee. It was the bitter invention of Satan himself. This is when Pope Clement VIII was asked to intervene and make a decision about coffee and its controversial status. He gave the drink his approval, and coffee started to spread.
What the fuck?
You're summoning the devil.
People are so weird.
Dude, it was so good. It made people feel so good that they were like, this isn't right. I shouldn't be feeling this good.
People are so weird, man. It just feels, what's really sad is you read that and I was like, man, that feels like something that would happen like right now.
Dude, that was like one of 4 times that coffee was like low-key banned in like the history of coffee. Yeah. 5 times. Yeah.
It's always on the edge.
You're like, really?
We got capitalism now. It's got its fucking roots in now, baby.
Oh, it's set. It's definitely set.
It's a moneymaker.
It's a 3-figure multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah. Isn't it like fucking like 3rd most traded commodity or something? It's up there, buddy.
It's like if someone don't quote me on this, but like I'm 99% sure I read that it is up there with oil as one of the top commodities in the world. So like oil and coffee. Like just put that into perspective for you.
It's got to be top 10.
It is. No, it's top 3.
Some beverages, they just rule the world. Just the way it is, man.
Coffee is definitely one of them. So once again, coffee houses were becoming centers of social activity and communication in the major cities of England, Austria, France, Germany, and Holland. So we are in Europe now at this point. In England, penny universities sprang up, and they were called penny universities because for a price of a penny, you could purchase a cup of coffee and engage in some sort of stimulating conversations. It was at this point that coffee began to start replacing beer and wine as the breakfast beverage. So that's pretty impressive. Around the mid-1600s, coffee made its way to a place called New Amsterdam. Tim, you know what New Amsterdam is?
Yeah.
It's New York. It's New York, baby. That's where we're going. 27 rings, bro. That's where we're going.
That's where we're going.
That's where we're going. In 1714, the mayor of Amsterdam presented a gift of a young coffee plant to King Louis. Oh, gosh. King Louis XIV of France. Sorry. Roman numerals. The king ordered it to be planted in the Royal Botanical Garden in Paris, and despite a challenging voyage that included awful weather, a saboteur who tried to destroy the seedling, and a pirate attack, he managed to transport it safely to Martinique. And then Brazilian coffee, we're going all across the globe, guys. Brazilian coffee owes its existence to Francisco de Melo de Barreta, who was sent by the emperor to French Guiana to get coffee seedlings. The French were not willing to share, but the French, this is fun, but the French governor's wife was captivated by his good looks, so she gave him a large bouquet of flowers, and before he left, buried inside those flowers, there was some coffee seeds, and that started what is the multi-billion-dollar industry in Brazil today.
Yeah. I just wanted to pull it up just because we're a history podcast. I've seen a lot of different like commodities. There's the silver, copper, gold. I did find a couple lists where coffee is like 2nd or 3rd. It's like in the top 10. I found a couple where it wasn't in the top 10. You know, as far as food
top
goes,
3.
it's pretty high up there.
It's pretty high up there. It's wild to me. Yeah, no. And it's been like that for a while. So like by the 18th century, I'm so glad you actually brought that up. Coffee had become one of the world's most profitable export crops. So like coffee has been, I mean, like 300, 400 like years at this point. Like the world has ran on coffee for a while.
Yeah. And America runs on Dunkin'.
But where's Ben? Is Ben Affleck in the room?
Not a sponsor.
Is Matt Damon here? In 1852.
What do you think? These are surgery scars?
In 1852, Brazil became the world's largest coffee producer and has continued to be the world's largest, one of the world's largest coffee producers, followed by Vietnam, Colombia, and Indonesia. In 1864, John and Charles Arbuckle, brothers from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, purchased Jabez Burns' newly invented self-emptying coffee bean roaster. The Arbuckle brothers began selling pre-roasted coffee in paper bags by the pound. They named their coffee Ariosa and found great success selling it to the cowboys of the American West. Yeehaw!
You went kind of Borat there.
100%.
Great success.
Great success.
My wife.
You like coffee? It wasn't long before James Folger followed suit and began selling coffee to the gold miners of California. Yeah, Folger, like Folgers in your cup.
Yeah, so why is
why-
Folgers the one that stuck around? That's interesting.
Well, yeah, we will get to that because I'm
did he kill a man? He killed the brothers? He
probably.
killed the other guys?
He definitely I'm not saying, but probably. By the 19th
it's not
century.
our job to put a lens on history. We're here to just give the facts. He killed the guys. He definitely killed them.
He killed the
For
guys.
sure.
Allegedly.
Yeah, he killed them. Allegedly.
Devil went down. Yeah, no.
Are we gonna get? He's when did you say this happened? 1800s.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's super dead. We're not gonna get sued or anything.
No.
Maybe Folgers will sue us. Who knows?
No, I mean the dude is dealing with cowboys.
Maybe they're really litigious.
Nah. We're gonna get hit with a cease and desist in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best part of waking up is you shutting the fuck up. How about that? That's what's gonna come into the mail.
If they don't do their cease and desist letters like that, they should. Wow. Okay, that needs to go on a t-shirt. All right. By the 19th century, coffee hit Japan and South Korea. And then we're really fast forwarding. There's a lot more to this, which we'll get to, but I'm just giving a general timeline. In the 1960s, a certain awareness for specialty coffee started to grow. In fact, in a little place called Seattle, Washington, in 1971, a place called Starbucks opened.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of this. I would say the second half of the commercialization of coffee. We'll get to the first half in a little bit.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, Dr. Evil's henchman number 2 bought stocks into Starbucks, so they could keep funding their evil plans. Austin Powers is a history movie, right? I learned that correctly?
I think so.
Okay, well, yeah, so that's what happened.
That's what my
Dark
notes.
money at Starbucks. Dark money at Starbucks, man. Got some dark money there.
It's not just the coffee that's dark.
Yeah, it's not just the coffee that's dark. It's their fucking history.
Maybe we'll make that a separate podcast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The history of.
Yeah. Yeah. The dark history behind food. That would be a sad podcast.
It'd be a super sad podcast. Yeah.
This podcast is already 70-30, 30% sad.
As I say, we haven't got there's some sad
We haven't even
parts.
talked about the child labor yet.
I was gonna say, we haven't talked about the slave labor yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so we should take a moment to discuss how coffee was traded across the globe, which is where this is leading into.
Oh, yeah. Let's discuss how we strip the dignity and livelihood of people in poorer countries to have our nice, comfy, cozy life in richer countries.
That's pretty much
and how we all just kind of have to know that, and somehow we wake up every day and we just live with it.
best part of waking up.
Waking up is shutting the fuck up.
So yeah, as the story always goes, the demand for coffee shot up and more countries wanted to capitalize. This more than likely meant that plantations were being set up around the world by countries, which meant that slave labor, child labor, was how coffee was being cultivated. So we've got two major power players in this. We've got our friends in England who created the East India Trading Company. And we've got
in England.
our friends in England. London. And then we've got our friends.
We have to be assholes about it every time they get
every
mentioned.
time. And then we have our friends.
Are
the
you like
Dutch.
beans and toast?
Bang as a mash. The Dutch created the Dutch East India Trading Company. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they initially attempted to put seeds, literally, in India, but were unfruitful. So then they went to Batavia on the island of Java, which is now Indonesia, and that is where the Dutch found success. And then they obviously expanded to the islands of Sumatra and the Celebes. So, like, you've probably seen, like, Sumatra coffee if you, like, go down the coffee aisle. Yeah. So part of that came from the Dutch, and then England really sank their jaws into India and establishing ports up and down the east.
Wouldn't be England without doing so.
Yeah, right. Jeez. They were just beginning, really. So yeah, they were establishing import and export ports all over the eastern coast of India. The EIC and VOC entered a period of intense competition, which resulted in the Anglo-Dutch Wars of the 17th and 18th centuries. The British East India Company was competitive with the Dutch and French throughout the 17th and 18th centuries over spices from the Spice Islands. So it's like, which we now know, we're like, that was like West Indies, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some spices at the time could only be found on these islands, such as nutmeg and clove, and they'd bring in profits as high as 400% from one voyage.
Sheesh.
The East India Company archive suggests its involvement in slave trade began in 1684 when Captain Robert Knox was ordered to buy and transport 250 slaves from Madagascar to St. Helena. The East India Company began transporting slaves in Asia and Atlantic in the early 1620s. Eventually, the company ended the trade in 1834 after numerous legal threats from the British state and the Royal Navy in the form of the West Africa Squadron, which discovered various ships had contained evidence of illegal trade.
Damn.
Then we have the Third Anglo-Dutch War, temporarily interrupted VOC trade with Europe and caused a spike in the price of pepper, which enticed the English East India Trading Company to enter this market in 1672. Then we have the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War. The VOC was a financial wreck after attempts to reorganize. The VOC charter was ultimately allowed to expire on December 31st, 1799. And then through the 17th century, the VOC trading posts were established in Persia, Bengal, Malacca, Siam, Formosa, which is now Taiwan, as well as Malabar and Coromandel coasts in India. So now they're taking on, coming into the British territory. They're also taking on the other side of Asia. So like I said, Taiwan, looking on the other west side of India. And then they also had direct access to China in 1729. So they're in it. They're in those markets now, which like British like, yo, what are you doing? In the aftermath of the Indian Rebellion in 1857 and under provisions of the Government of India Act 1858, the British government nationalized the company. The British government took over its Indian possessions, its administrative powers and machinery, and its armed forces. The company had already divested itself in the commercial trading assets in India in favor of the UK government in 1833. In return, India got fucked. The shareholders voted to accept an annual dividend of 10.5% guaranteed for 40 years, which was going to be funded from India. The debt obligations continued beyond dissolution and were only extinguished by the UK government during the Second World War.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they just got absolutely fucked on that.
My God.
So yeah, finally, in about 1874, that was like the last of the payments and everything, and at that point, it was kind of dissolved. That was the EIC and the VOC, and just the havoc that it absolutely just wreaked on Asian countries attempting to establish itself as the prime trading source for spices and coffee and anything and everything in between.
Very fun.
Very fun. But let's go back to America, shall we? Let's bring the horses back over here. Okay, so now established. Coffee's in New York. We love it. It's the breakfast go-to. In fact, did you know that coffee became patriotic?
Oh, do tell.
The Boston Tea Party happened.
Okay.
And England was like, yo, we're upping the taxes on everything.
Right.
And so coffee wasn't getting taxed. And so they're like, fuck you, we're going to drink coffee now. We're not gonna buy your tea. We don't need your tea.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done
tea drinking ways.
We're not drinking tea anymore. We're gonna drink coffee.
We're done. Yeah, you know what? We're Dunyan rings with tea.
Yeah, That was it. Don't tread on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first coffee company
Is
was
that
yeah.
is that the FBI contacting us? What the fuck?
The first coffee company was founded in San Francisco in 1850. Pioneer Steamed Coffee and Spice Mills became the first known company to commercialize and mass-produce coffee. Today, it's better known by its household brand name, Folgers.
Man, I really thought you were gonna like hit us with like a Maxwell House. You know what I mean? I thought you were gonna be like, you thought it was Folgers, but
No, it's
no, that
Folgers.
was Folgers.
It's Folgers. In 1890, the Hills brothers used a new tech. Check this out: the vacuum seal. They were vacuum sealing. Wow, I can't say vacuum. They were vacuum sealing coffee beans that they had already broken down. Right, they're already ground up. And then boom. To Tim's point earlier, that was the biggest issue that coffee has. I mean, it still has, but especially back in the day, that was the biggest issue that coffee had. The freshness wasn't there was no way of keeping that freshness unless you were literally going to get a cup of coffee somewhere from an actual coffee house. So the Hills brothers changed that, and they started shipping the coffee beans out in 1890.
What year was this?
That was in 1890.
That's not real.
Isn't that wild?
That's not real. Vacuum sealing bags in 1890.
1890. There was like 10 cups. It was 10 cups.
That's not real.
Like
That's not a real thing that happened.
Think like the tuna cans, and that's what they were putting. They were vacuum sealing ground coffee beans in.
No way. They didn't even know what the word vacuum meant.
No way. No how.
Not convinced.
Isn't that wild?
Not convinced.
Dude, it's
no
wild.
way.
No way. Yeah.
No way. No how. 1890. No way.
No way.
I don't know why I'm acting surprised. We've learned that things are in the 1800s really weren't that far gone. They had a lot of inventions going.
They had a lot.
Like the toaster.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't make sense. How did that happen? Could have swore a toaster was made in the 70s, but no.
It's really wild because you say that, and then it's like you really do come into the post, from what we've seen, like post-depression era, hit 30, 40, 50, 60s, and that's really the emergence of like these instant foods. And it's almost like, I mean, obviously like the emergence of all of this tech and the culmination of that. And then now we have obviously, and like better ways of like storing and refrigerating and packaging.
Which is how fucking linear time works, right? It's like it's a bunch of precursors like it is always so funny when you like hear a year about something and you're like, that's crazy. They were doing that long ago, and it's so like, true. Well, yeah, it wasn't sophisticated, but yeah, like they were in fact starting the process that would eventually become like vacuum sealing fucking bags.
I think maybe that's like, that might be like the thing, and like, wow, let me take like a fucking pill for a second. It's like the romanticism I think that we have with like technology, because when we like think of these things happening, we think of it in like 21st century, like, oh, the toaster was made exactly how I can go buy it in the store now with all of these different settings and knobs and whatever else the thing I need. And it's like, no, dude, it was literally just like on and off heat. Yeah. And like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
it was literally two guys holding what looked like branding rods close to the piece of bread you owned, and you just bought those guys.
Yeah,
that was it. You just owned those dudes and their eternal fire. That's what that was the original toaster. That's how it worked.
That's how it works.
And it wasn't until, we accessed some black magic and started using what is known by the devils as electricity. When we created and the moment we got electricity, the iPhone was invented. That's kind of how time works,
I think that's how it works, yeah.
The moment the cyborg Benjamin Franklin invented electricity, iPhone, right after that.
Exactly.
And Steve Jobs was a vampire.
Shortly thereafter. But yeah.
This is such a good history podcast.
It's pretty accurate information, honestly.
This is such a good history podcast. Okay, so in 1890, they were vacuum sealing cans of coffee.
But I'm a historian. Yeah. So yeah. Pretty much Maxwell House 1892, that's launched, further expanding into the industry, and that would eventually surpass Folgers in the 1980s as the biggest coffee business in the United States. But wait,
Whoa.
there's more to
In the 80s?
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but yeah, in the 80s.
I didn't know that. I mean, it's all trash. They are both God.
Maxwell and
God-awful.
Folgers? Yeah, no.
Yeah, they're really bad.
But they're the oldest. They are the oldest.
Shout out to my mom who drinks both.
In 1966. So we're fast forwarding a
Oh,
lot of it, but
hold
not
on.
a little bit.
Hold on. What is Maxwell's House's like thing? What's their slogan?
You said that, and I'm like, the best part of waking.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, and I'm pretty sure they're like from Tennessee or some shit like that. I really should have actually done more on Maxwell House, but
Good to the last drop. What a
yeah. So
bro, not nearly as catchy or fun.
no, and so okay, yeah, my bad, you guys. So Maxwell House, it's pretty much named in honor of the Maxwell House Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, which was its first major
Okay.
customer. Which talk about like brand like loyalty.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I was just I was just curious what their slogan was to be the top selling in the 1980s, like American coffee brand. It's just like I don't like. There's just there's nothing about Maxwell House that I think of that I'm like that sticks.
No,
And
yeah.
it turns out their slogan is "Good to the last drop," which is probably the most. I don't know. How hard did they work on that one?
I mean, they
Do you
didn't.
think?
They didn't.
You know? Out of all the iconic like slogans, like melts in your mouth, not your hands. The best part of waking up, Folgers in your cup. Lay's chip, bet you can't just have one. Like so many good ones out there, and theirs is good to the last drop.
Okay, they're claiming that apparently Andrew Jackson was the one that said that. He proclaimed
Well-
on October 21st, 1907, at the Hermitage. That's Andrew Jackson's residence for those who didn't go to elementary school in Tennessee and went there for all of the fucking field trips. But apparently he proclaimed it was good to the last drop. But Coca-Cola was also using that slogan at the time. But then they still said fuck it and still decided to use it. So,
Well, I mean,
well, I guess because Coca-Cola changed, yeah, because they were like, we don't have cocaine anymore. That was their slogan that they had to change it to.
Yeah. They were like, we actually haven't had cocaine in years, guys.
We swear, you guys, like, please just drink
Like,
our coffee.
we took that shit out like 5 years after.
We swear. Which wasn't when we were supposed to take it out, but like that's gone now. So what's it matter? In 1966, America was introduced to its first major coffee chain, Peet's Coffee. Yeah,
Fucking Pete's.
Peet's Coffee. It actually had its,
Also disgusting.
yeah. It also had its first storefront in Berkeley, California. And then fun origin story part 2. Alfred Peet, the owner of Peet's Coffee, personally trained Gordon Bowker, Zev Siegel, and Jerry Baldwin on how to make the perfect roast. Tim, do you want to know what those guys ended up doing in 1971?
Dissolving the company and selling it to a different company.
Almost. They decided to open Starbucks
Oh, fun.
in Pike Place Market in Seattle.
Fun.
Yeah, so that's what happened there. In the United States,
That's cool, man.
over 60% of American adults indulge in a cup of coffee at least once a day. Yeah, which is pretty solid.
You said over 60%?
Yeah,
Damn. That is a lot.
that is a lot. And it's like, I wonder how many percentage, like what percentage of those people drink coffee more than once a day.
Well, I was actually more curious about the Americans that still drink coffee. They just don't drink it once a day. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to be pretty high, too. Like, I imagine that just, like, drinking coffee in general is probably done by most. Like, I mean, that is technically a majority, but even more than that, I would think. Maybe, again, some people don't like having it every day. Some people are, always trying to, like, keep their caffeine intake low. Some people get jittery on it. So
Yeah.
they don't necessarily go out of their way to, like, buy decaf or whatever.
I would definitely be interested. I might
Yeah,
I
maybe
might
they're
dig some more
only
into it up.
social coffee drinkers.
Ooh, yeah. So coffee was banned. There was coffee is like the uncertified bad boy of the beverage industry. That's not alcohol, right? So
Right.
multiple times,
Famously.
famously, it was banned in 1511 in Mecca, and they're like, "Oh, just kidding. We'll decide not to do that." At one point, it was banned in Italy in the 16th century. Remember, we kind of talked about that a little bit, and they're like, "Oh, okay, it's fine." Constantinople in 1623, as Murad 4th said that anyone that was caught with coffee a second time, so this is after they were caught with coffee, would be sewn into a leather bag and thrown into the water. It's a bit harsh, in my opinion. Sweden in 1746, as well as banning coffee, the government also banned any coffee paraphernalia like cups and dishes. King Gustav III ordered convicted murderers to drink coffee while doctors monitored how long the cups of coffee would take to kill them. That punishment didn't go very long, though, because it was just bad news for the guard, for the people watching, and not for the prisoners.
Holy fucking shit.
And then in Prussia, that's wild, in 1777, Frederick the Great issued a manifesto claiming beer superiority over coffee.
What a fucking battle.
It was a battle.
Beer versus coffee. We talk about it all the time. Just like, oh man, how different we look at alcohol these days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, like,
let's not talk about alcohol right now.
Okay, I was gonna say. I mean, okay, I was gonna say, yeah. But honestly, like, to your point, I'm kind of closing off the pod here. But to your point,
yeah,
that was one of the things that, like, one of the reasons why employers were like, oh no, like maybe coffee is the way to go. Because people that obviously like showed up to work that like had beer or wine with their breakfast were not as like aware as their coffee powder counterpoints. Yeah.
For what we now know as very obvious reasoning.
And then like pretty much like whenever unions started to happen, and so workers were finally getting like actual breaks, it would be a thing to like have a coffee break. That would be the thing to do. You go chat with everybody, you get a little refresher, get right for the rest of the day, and then you'd move on. So really also like shout out to unions, because that's part of the reason why coffee is also so prominent in like the workplace, because
in like workplaces and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so you gave it like a 92?
Yeah.
Yeah. Upper 90s or lower 90s. I do remember you was in the 90s. My apologies for not remembering the
Oh, I said 90 even. I'll go 92.
Okay, I'll take that. That's an A.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go 92. I'm trying to be better about just not giving everything top tier 100%. Who am I kidding? It's a 96. Dude, I love coffee. I think it's great in desserts. And that's a really, I mean, again, and yeah, I know you said we were doing like abbreviated stuff, but it's got such a big history.
Yeah.
That you'd have to pretty much do a series for like every country that it's been prominent in.
Yeah. No, and seriously,
if we really wanted to go way, way, way into it.
It's like, that's what I think it's really interesting about coffee. Because I mean, like, we've talked about all sorts of different types of food that spans all different types of eras and regions of the world. But coffee, I mean, it's been around, one of those beverages that's been around forever and has definitely had an impact on each area, each country, which I don't know. I think it's kind of impressive. I don't know. I just think it's really impressive.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
I mean, it has, it's just like the amount of like economical impact.
Yeah.
I think is what's so wild, like what's just so crazy about coffee. I mean, and of course, when we're doing the research and writing the scripts, it sort of comes down to what kind of shines through and what we end up focusing on. Yeah. So maybe there were other foods that we've done that maybe we just didn't spend more time talking about like their like economic impact on like countries, but you're right. I mean, we've just talked about a lot. I mean, famously like mustard, things like that, like which is just a spice that was, I think, probably one of the oldest foods we talked about.
For sure.
And again, there probably were, like economic stuff of like involved with mustard, but it's like, it's also, I don't know, like coffee is still traded so heavily, and mustard's just, I mean, it's a big food, but spices just aren't what they used to be in terms of like trade value and things like that. They're obviously still very heavily traded, but they're so fucking accessible now that it just doesn't have the same thing. Whereas like coffee right now is still such a major, major industry in so many different fucking countries. And there's like, at any moment you could have more of that bullshit that happened with like India and the Asian, like literally at any moment, right? Like it's massive. These companies that own all that shit.
Absolutely. So. And like to that point, like coffee's been, like to your point, coffee's been around for so long, and yet at the beginning of this we're talking about the resurgence of coffee. and the processes of coffee and the different ways that people are making it. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with it. Yeah. 96, I'll take it though. I think that's pretty solid.
96, yeah. My favorite part of the Tim's favorite parts. My favorite part of the podcast was when we got that cease and desist from Folgers.
Yeah.
That was fun. They are very
FBI
litigious,
visit.
turns out. Yeah. That's my those are my personal favorite parts of the episode. Elle, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts.
All right, that was Elle's final thoughts. We are moving on. We've heard enough from you and me. This is the end of the podcast.
Yes.
Welcome to Where Does Food, the music that just started playing. That music that you heard at the top, that you're also hearing right now, was made by a good friend of ours, Austin Martin. It was also made partially by me, and I deserve just as much credit, if not more.
Absolutely.
All right. Quit taking all my credit, Austin. Jesus. And you can find him on Apple Music and Spotify.
Yes, hit that Spotify
under the
link.
name Meridian Sky, you can go listen to his music. He makes a lot of good music. It's just jam bandy stuff. Just good rock music. Go listen to it. Have a good time. You can also find half of us on Twitter.
Oh.
You can find the actual podcast on Twitter at Where Does Food. You can find Elle on Twitter
At El Chapo with 3 underscores in between there, because I almost forgot. That's what it is.
and you can find me on Instagram at Tim _ Winston.
Yeah.
Well, Winston and Tim. It doesn't matter. It's going to be in the fucking show notes. Just go to the show notes. Click on the link and it'll take you to the pages. Yeah, I think it's Winston and Tim, but with underscores in between it. You can find us also at our website, wheredoesfood.com. We got all of the episodes there, and you can listen to them on there. You can also check us out on anchor.fm/where-does-food.
Woo.
We have a supporter button over there as well, so if you want to support us, you can press that supporter button, and you'll just throw some change our way, and we'll thank you for it. There's not like a lot of extra perks, but like we'll thank you for it. Bare minimum, we'll thank you for it. And I'll show nipple if you really want it. If you really want it, you get one nipple. You get your choice, by the way.
Oh.
Viewer's choice of one nipple. So that's what $5 a month gets you. It gets you a viewer's choice of one nipple and a thank you from me and Elle. Oh, also, and maybe if we get enough supporters, Elle will be able to afford to go get her degree.
Maybe.
In food history. So, we're still working on that, but they actually just texted again. They said, no fucking way. Doesn't matter how much money she spends. Either way, we're going to try our best. Next season, we're going to try and get it for her. So that's our new stretch goal for our GoFundMe. All right, I'm done goofing around. I'm pretty sure that's it. Go leave reviews. Spotify, Apple, it helps. Go just fucking click stars and type things. And be cool about it.
5 stars.
The other thing that you can do is just trap people in cars and put the podcast on.
Yeah. Or freezers.
Don't kidnap. Don't kidnap people. I'm not saying kidnap people. I'm saying if you're driving on the interstate, traveling, they can't leave.
Yeah, no, it's not safe for them to leave.
Put the podcast on. When you're driving 80 miles an hour, put it on. They can't leave because of the death if they jumped out. That's, so it's a pretty big deterrent from them leaving the car. So if that's happening,
I've been told.
if that's happening, then, just turn it on.
That's
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think that's the podcast. Okay. Tim's gonna go drink more water. Everyone have a great evening, day, morning, week, weekend. Have whatever greatness that you want to have in life. You can do that through the secret of positive attitude and positive thinking, and you can literally change the world with positive energy.
I'll take that. Imbreviate.
I'm lying.
Imbreviate. As
all those things were just not true. I mean, it does help sometimes to be happy, but like,
Again, and breathe.
I guess I'm gonna. Yeah, let's end the podcast.